So we're going to talk about prejudice and discrimination as it relates to racism. So basically, what is prejudice and what is discrimination? So prejudice basically is having a preconceived belief or attitudes towards a person or a group without experience. So if I believe that, for example, African Americans, blacks are violent, that's a prejudice, right? Without having met many of them. If I believe they're criminals, that's prejudice. If I believe kind of all African Americans are very athletic, that's kind of a prejudice. That's a stereotype. And there's also the acts of discrimination. So when you move to judgment, to actions, then that's discrimination. So when your action is based on prejudice, and that gives different groups of people different preferences, that's discriminating. If I prefer a certain group, or if I not prefer, if I dislike a certain group because of their race, that's an act of discrimination. So classic examples are if I own a business and I don't hire black people or Asian people, that's a discrimination. If I don't serve food in my restaurant to a certain race of people, that's kind of discrimination. So I want to talk about first that even still in America that the issue of race is still pretty much alive, and that's kind of related to the role of the media. For example, years ago, in 98, 97, when we had the O.J. Simpson trial. O.J. Simpson, you remember, is a African-American football star that was who allegedly killed his wife, Nicole Simpson, and Nicole Simpson's affair, a man that Nicole Simpson was seeing. And then they led on like a police speed chase. And so O.J. Simpson got a lot of attention from that. And so Time magazine, one of the leading magazines in America, printed a picture of O.J. Simpson on the cover of their photo shoot on the magazine. And what they did was they actually took the mugshot of O.J. Simpson and they actually darkened it to make his skin look even darker and blacker, giving him a more sinister, frightening appearance. And so just the issue of skin tone, how dark people's skin is, has an effect. For example, in an archival study of criminals in Pennsylvania, African Americans with more stereotypical features, darker skin, wider features, were also more likely to get the death penalty and also harsher sentences. So just because their skin tone was darker, they were actually discriminated more against. Here's another example of race and psychology in the media. That knowingly doing it or not, the media does kind of reflect some of these stereotypes of African Americans. So 5 years ago, this is 2010, so in 2005, we had the Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, a city in the States, in Louisiana, that has a lot of black people in it, basically in the Bayou State. And so during the Katrina, the AP news outlet took a lot of pictures of people trying to survive in the city, and basically it was flooding, so there's like water up to people's hips, and they're trying to walk around, and they're looking for food. In fact, basically the entire city was kind of shut down and evacuated. Lots of people are left behind, and there's flooding, there's a lack of food, so people are often out in the streets kind of looking for food, going to stores to get food, even though the stores are closed, so they're basically stealing the food. And so the AP printed a bunch of pictures of people trying to survive during Katrina. And so they found that the pictures of the black people, the caption was the black people are looting. And that's a negative term. That means they're like stealing, they're using violence. And when it's white people looking for food, they called it finding food or foraging food. So even the words they used to describe these people, they probably didn't do this on purpose, reflected in some ways their prejudice and their kind of own prejudices.